Good morning. Welcome to Composition 2. Today will be our fourth lecture. This lecture will be short because we will be introducing a new chapter, and that is the chapter 2 about danger and daring. Now, what we intend to do in this lecture is introduce the focus, and that is as presented in the chapter. We will try to learn how to write about an explorer. Now, what we mean by explorer here is that any person who could be categorized as or described as an explorer, from someone who I don't know, dives deep in the sea, or climbs high in the mountains, or goes into space, or basically goes somewhere that no one has ever been before. So this person has this feeling or has this urge to explore something new, and that usually is something not a lot of people know about, either a thing or a place or an activity. In order to prepare for writing about an explorer, we would like you to open your books to page 24 and look at the pictures over there on page 24. Just take I don't know if this is going to be clear. I'm sorry, I have my photocopied book with me today. And you see some pictures of people like this gentleman here on the right, to your left, and his name is Matthew Henson. He's American, and he was the co-discoverer of the North Pole with Robert Peary in 1909. So this person can be described as an explorer because they discovered the North Pole. Nobody ever attempted to go there before them at least. This person here to your right is Sidney Pozuelo. I hope I pronounced his name right. And he is Brazilian. And he is an Amazonian rainforest explorer. So the Amazon has this huge rainforest area, and not a lot of people have had access to many parts of this huge rainforest. So what this gentleman basically did was he kind of went new places in this large rainforest, regardless of the dangers, of course, that he definitely would encounter. And he was able to get a few prizes because of his work. This lady to your left is Chayaki Moke. Excuse my pronunciation, I'm not absolutely sure of its accuracy, but she's Japanese, and she was the first Japanese woman, okay, to fly into space, and was part of the NASA mission in 1985. Okay, so you have a woman, a Japanese woman in space. That's kind of a new discovery, that a new exploration on part of women. Another woman is Arlene Blum, and she is American. This is to your right, the picture, the photo to your right. And what she did was she was the leader of the first group of American climbers to reach the top of Annapurna in 1972. Now, Annapurna is this large, very tall mountain in the Himalaya. So, what these people have done is that they have tried to do things that not a lot of people have attempted to do before. What we want to do is learn how to write about these people. Now, in order to write about them, we have a very important task, and that important task is to gather information about these people. So we have to gather enough information about these people in order for us to be able to write about them accurately. Okay? Now, let's try to do this briefly, and go to page 27. And on page 27, you have this very nice reading passage, and it's called Annapurna, A Woman's Place. Now, this is a reading passage from a book by Arlene Blum, whom we just talked about, and try to read through parts. I'll try to read through parts of this reading passage, so you can get a head start and read it on your own. So let me just briefly or quickly read through it. So, Annapurna, A Woman's Place. It is clear that women, mountain climbers, have felt the urge to explore remote regions and ascend high peaks for many years. On Top of the World, 5 Women Explorers in Tibet describes 5 of the many women who explored the high Himalayas between 1950 and 1920. One of them, Isabella Bayer, had been sickly for most of her life in England, but she experienced a dramatic change as she traveled at high elevations in Kashmir. Unlike her experiences in England, as a pioneer and traveler, she laughed at fatigue. She was unafraid of danger, and she didn't worry about the next meal. Another woman explorer of her time was Alexandra David Neal from France. Her journeys across the high Tibetan plateau from 1911 to 1944 have been characterized as the most remarkable ever made by an explorer, man or woman, in Tibet. At the age of 55, she disguised herself as a Tibetan beggar woman and walked 2,000 miles across numerous high snow passages to reach the forbidden city of Lhasa. Fanny Bullock Workman and her husband, Dr. W.H. Workman of Massachusetts, traveled and explored in the Himalayas between 1890 and 1915. They wrote 6 books about their adventures. Fanny, an ardent suffragette, was once photographed on a high pass in the Himalayas carrying a newspaper bearing the headline, "Votes for Women." Another early woman climber and a rival of Mrs. Workman was Annie S. Peck, a New England professor. She began her climbing career with an ascent of the Matterhorn when she was 45. In 1908, at the age of 58, she made the first ascent of House Quran, the highest mountain in Peru, at 21,837 feet. She climbed it she claimed it was the altitude record for any American. Peck described herself as a firm believer in the equality of the sexes. Any great achievement in any line of endeavor would be an advantage to my sex, as she said. And Peck, High Mountain Climbing in Peru and Bolivia, 1912. That's her book. In the years since World War II, women have made numerous significant climbs in the Andes and the Himalayas. One of the most remarkable of them was the late French climber Claude Cogan. British women have also been successful climbers. From the 1950s onward, they have carried out many small, well-organized expeditions to previously unexplored explored regions of the Himalayas and written about them in an understated, characteristically British fashion. In addition to the British and other small expeditions, women climbers through the world have made significant contributions to climbing in the last 100 years. However, until quite recently, women have been notably absent on the world's highest mountains. There are 14 mountains in the world that soar above 8,000 meters, 26,200 feet, all located in the Himalayas. For many years, mountaineers have wanted to figure out a way to reach their summits. Attempts to climb them began in the 19th century. In the first half of the 20th century, hundreds of men participated in dozens of expeditions in those peaks. But even after Fanny Workman's example, only a handful of women participated in such climbs. Elizabeth Knowlton was a member of the joint German-American climb of Nanga Parbat in 1932. In 1934, Haiti Dierenfurth took part in an expedition that explored and mapped the Balotro Glacier region of the Karakoram Himalaya. She reached the top of Queen Mary Peak, 24,370 feet, which gave her the world altitude record for women, for which Annie Peck and Fanny Workman had competed. It was not until 1950 that an 8,000-meter peak was climbed by anyone. The legendary ascent of Annapurna the First, Annapurna the First by Maurice Herzog's French team was closely followed by successes right. Right. French team was closely followed by successes on all 8,000-meter giants over the next 14 years, and all by men. During this period, the only attempt on an 8,000-meter peak by a women's team was the ill-fated 1959 International Women's Expedition in Chuyoi in Nepal. Tragically, 4 climbers, including the leader, Claude Cogan, died in this attempt. By 1972, when the idea for our all-women expedition to Annapurna was originally conceived, no women from any country had yet reached the summit of an 8,000-meter peak. Now, I'm sorry about the pronunciation of some of the words here and some of the names of the places and the families. I try to do my best. Maybe next time I'll find someone who really knows how to pronounce these family names, so I could share this piece of information with you. Now, the idea here was to gather information about mountain climbing and about explorers and a specific kind of explorers. Those specific kind of explorers are mountain climbers, men and women, but here mostly women, only women mountain climbers, because the focus was on how women can achieve this very difficult task of climbing or ascending to a very high summit in the Himalayas. Now, this is an example, of course, from a book, and it's very professionally done, but it gives you an example as how these pieces of information are gathered together and how these ideas are expressed. Now, try to read this passage again and again, like one or two times, okay, and mark the words you don't understand. Now, the second step I'd like you to do is to elicit the information from this reading passage to see if you have fully understood the reading passage. Now, the easy way to do this is go to exercise number 4, and as you can see from the exercise, it's understanding the reading. It talks about the previously mentioned reading passage that we just read together, and it gives you 2 questions, here and here, where it says who, whom, country, and year. So it gives you, just say the person, who, whom, who, and that's the person, home, and that is the home of this person, I don't know, American, English, French, what have you, Japanese, and then you mention the name and of course the year where the event took place. And what was the achievement? The achievement was walk 2,000 miles across Tibet, disguised herself as a beggar. Now, this was the achievement. Now, there are many examples in the reading passage, many names and achievements. Now, what we want you to do is go to the reading passage again and elicit this type of information and place it here on the exercise, or on the place designated for it on the exercise. Okay, so just for your information, do exercise number 4 on page 29 as homework. Do this exercise as best as you can. It's going to be a little bit difficult because the reading passage is not the easiest you can find, but please try to do your best. You will gain a lot from focusing on this reading passage. You will gain a lot of vocabulary and a lot of useful techniques and ideas. Please try to do this. This is task number 3. I don't need to remind you to post your answers on the student course forum, okay? And please do not send it by email. Now, we'll stop here, go to the next lecture, and thank you. See you next time.